You are listening to the Overcome Pornography for Good podcast, episode 53, What's Possible with Quinn Felix. Welcome to the Overcome Pornography for Good podcast, where we take a research-based, trauma-informed, and results-focused approach to quitting porn. This approach has been revolutionary and changed thousands and thousands of lives. I'm your host, Sarah Brewer. Hey, you guys, welcome to the podcast episode this week. I'm really excited for you to hear what I've got for you today. I had a really special interview with one of my clients whose name is Quinn. He has an incredible story. He struggled with pornography for over 50 years and was able to completely quit it here at 63 years old after a lot of you'll hear him talk about his whole story. I love his story, and I so appreciate him coming on to share it with us. As you listen, I want to invite you to use this as an opportunity to find so much evidence for why you can quit and why you can quit now and why it is absolutely possible for you to quit. One thing he says that I love is that as soon as I learned the skills and I got the knowledge, I was able to change. It didn't need to take me 50 years. And I want to say to you guys, you are learning this here in the podcast. You're really applying it in the program. And so this doesn't have to take years and years and years. And it doesn't matter how long you have struggled with porn. That's why I love this interview with Quinn, why I wanted to interview him. It's because he is just an example of what is possible and that it does not matter. You could have struggled with porn for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. It doesn't matter. You can still quit. That's something I hear from my clients is a limiting belief that's but Sarah, you don't understand. I've been struggling with this for a long time, 12 years. And I always tell them that doesn't matter. It means nothing about your future. It means nothing about what you can accomplish. It means nothing about whether or not you can quit. Your past is not a reflection of your future. And this story with Quinn is such an amazing, inspiring example of that. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 65 or 95, you can quit viewing pornography and it is never too late. Okay, please enjoy this interview that I had with Quinn. Hey, you guys, welcome to the podcast episode this week. I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend and client, Quinn, who has been a member of Overcome Pornography for Good and has a really amazing story. Quinn is going to show us what's possible when it comes to quitting pornography and tell us a little bit about his story. And so, Quinn, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Quinn Felix, born and raised in a little town in Utah called Woods Cross. Went on a mission to the Virginia Roanoke Mission in 1976. Came home, met a beautiful girl who I married in the Salt Lake Temple. She was from Chico, California, and we moved to Chico and raised our family there. I worked for the church for a while. I also worked as a firefighter for California. And then after that career, I worked in the medical field for about 10 years, 12 years. And unusual circumstances, we ended up due to a fire, actually, that destroyed the hospital that my wife and I were working in. We lost our jobs, decided to move to Houston, Texas, where my youngest daughter was here. Raised a family of 3, all of them adopted, and I'm out here with the youngest. Got one in Florida and got one in Utah, or in California still.
Cool. Very cool. I had forgotten that you were a firefighter.
Yeah.
I think you had told me that before. That's cool.
Yeah.
I have quite a few clients and people who listen who are firefighters.
Yeah.
They'll connect with that. So tell us a little bit about your experience with pornography and some of the challenges that you had specifically with pornography.
We'll give you a little background on it. Got involved with erotic literature by mistake, by happenstance, when I was about 12 years old. That led to a masturbation problem, porn when I could get into it. It was hard to do back then, getting magazines or whatever. I went to the bishop, went to help, and it was all hey, when you get married, it'll all disappear. You won't have any problems with it after you get married. Just don't do it. Don't do it. That's the way it works.
You're not the only one who's heard that.
So after the marriage, there was a time there where there wasn't much of a problem, but then it gradually came back. I got more involved in it as the computer age came about, heavily involved in it. And going with your definition of what an addiction is, I would go with I was addicted for a number of years. It affected my jobs, it affected my life, it affected my family, could not get away with it. I acted out in person a number of times. Again, trying to overcome it, I went to my bishop and stake president, was excommunicated for the stuff that I did. But that was not the end all of repentance. It helped, but it never stopped. It was later rebaptized and worked on it over and over again. And then natural happenstances, the fire destroying, upsetting our lives, a major traffic accident put me in the hospital for a while, and Bell's palsy. There was a lot of things that just affected me, and I couldn't handle it, and I buffered with porn to overcome those problems.
Yeah, that's a lot of big life, difficult life events.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. Did you know then? Did you see pornography as a buffer or as a way to kind of cope?
I had an idea that that's what I was doing, but I had no idea why I was doing it that way. I was totally lost. There was no research that you could go to, and it was all willpower, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. And about how long did you struggle with pornography throughout your life, on and off?
Starting at 12, we're talking about 50 years, 45 years of it.
Yeah, 50 years, 45 years. I think that's important for me to mention or for me to ask, because I have clients all the time, or people who message me all the time. They're like, you don't understand. I've been struggling with this for like 12 years, 12 years, Sarah. And I just love you and your story, and that you're willing to come and share this, because it gives us some, firsthand advice. It doesn't matter how long you've struggled with this.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. So what changed for you? Where was the turning point for you? What helped you overcome pornography? Where are you at now? Kind of tell us about that transformation.
The big change, we were in the process of moving to Houston. And I think, the stress of moving, the stress of losing a job, trying to get my personal life back in order, I started going back into the deep side of pornography. My wife found out about it, and she went to Houston and left me in Chico. And that was the bottom. That was the rock solid bottom. I finally, she was patient with me for years and trying to help me out as much as she could. Again, limited knowledge and what to do and how to do it. I lost my marriage, lost my wife. And I said, I've got to do something.
Yeah. And what was that? What did you do?
I started researching online. Before everything was church-based, kind of afraid to step out and do some research to find out what was going on. So I got online, and Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson on an audiobook. And I listened to it, and I went, whoa, there's science to back this up. He started describing things that I could relate to sentence by sentence, word by word. Porn acceleration, porn-induced erectile dysfunction. It was all there. And I finally went, wow, if there's something science-based here, I'm going, there's a way to beat this. I listened to that book. Every time I'd go out for a walk, I would listen to that book, and I probably listened to it 10 times. So I started researching again, went on to see if there was any apps that could help me out. I found Brain Buddy, and Covenant Eyes was another good app. But Brain Buddy was good. It gave me daily exercises that I could center myself on. And, it would do self-affirmation. It would give you a split screen on the computer, showing you a picture of a guy behind a computer, just a black and white image of, man, he's in pain, he's looking at porn. And then on the other side would be this picture of a happy couple, out playing volleyball or on the beach or whatever. And you had to make a decision. Do I want this one or do I want that one? And you would do that 4 or 5 times a day, and it would just ingrain in you, and stories, progression stories, how you overcome, how life is better now with that, without it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that it didn't have was still giving me the understanding of how I could overcome it. So even with those exercises, I was still using willpower.
Okay. So it kind of went from like really hopeless, there's something wrong with me, I don't know why I'm doing this, this is just my flaw, to learning about the brain and your brain on porn, reading that book, understanding that there's maybe a little bit more behind this, there's a little bit more science behind this, hope, because it's not just that there's something wrong with you, but there's something going on here in my brain.
And I wasn't alone.
Yeah. And that you weren't alone. Led you to Brain Buddy, which I haven't really used much of or really seen much of, but I have gotten messages from people on Brain Buddy. It seems like an awesome app. It gives you a sense of community, helps you see you're not alone, helping you start to notice, like, maybe I can have this other, like there are two options in my life here, and maybe I can start to have this one, even though it's been 50 years, even though I'm struggling or I've lost my marriage, even though all this, maybe I still can have this life that I really want.
Yeah. It was eye-opening. It was a breath of fresh air, really. On Brain Buddy, you were formed up into teams, or you could make your own team. So I advertised one day on the board that I was a member of the church and wanted to form my own team with LDS members. And in no time at all, I had 5 guys, even more, trying to get into the team. And one of the team members listened to you on a podcast, one of your podcasts. In fact, it was the one that you talked about, whether you call it an addiction or
a habit.
A habit. And so he came on and he wrote, and he says, "What do you think? Is it a habit or is it an addiction?" And I said, "I don't care what you call it, as long as I get over it." So he gave me your name. It took me a while to find you and listen to you. And I remember the first day I had already moved to Houston, and I was traveling to Costco, and I was listening to episode 2, I believe it was, where you were talking about the clay statue with the monks. And I went,
the Buddha.
Wow. Yeah, the Buddha. And I just, wow, there's something underneath my veneer, all my clay, that I need to wash off, get to. And it was just a life changer after that.
Oh, yeah. Which makes sense. You're talking about changing your beliefs and how powerful that was for you to hear the Buddha example in episode 2, and working on changing those beliefs. And just, we're going to talk about this more at the end, but Quinn is going to come and teach us a class in Overcome Pornography for Good. We're going to get into this because, Quinn is becoming a life coach, and these tools have totally changed his life so much that he wants to teach and help other people. And so he's actually going to come to a class in the program on changing limiting beliefs and using self-affirmation to do that. So cool. It's cool for me to hear your story in depth like this and see why that's so important to you. So tell me a little bit more. So you started listening to the podcast, and I want to know, like, what were the overall breakthroughs or some of those significant transformations that you started to experience when you came into this world?
2 of them off the top of my head was the Pavlov dog's example, that, I train my brain to do this, I can untrain it to do this, or to stop it. The second one was recognizing that it was shame and that I needed to get rid of the shame. And it didn't take much work for me to do that. Once I understood it and realized it, I shed the shame all the way around. It was, really, after I joined your program and got the workbook, I could probably show it to you. You'd probably, if you could reach out, you could probably slap me. I've probably written on 2 pages. I've gone through it all, but it just made so much sense, and just flipped a switch in my brain as I read through them, that it was an easy transformation for me.
Yes. Okay. I'm so glad you said that. And I love that you said that, because I hear this all the time. They're like, well, I've been thinking these shameful things for this long, and so it's going to take me a really long time to change this.
No.
It doesn't have to be that way, right?
No, it doesn't.
Mm.
It's easy once you recognize the difference between shame and guilt,
Mm-hmm.
and know that, before, when if I thought about, if I received an urge to act out, I would immediately feel the guilt,
Mm-hmm.
and then the shame. With processing the urges and working on them, I realize where they're coming from, thoughts only, and I can change that thought, and it's no longer shame.
Yeah. How beautiful. I love that. And I love that you say too that you've only written in like 2 pages of the workbook,
Yeah,
because that's totally fine. That is absolutely fine. Sometimes my clients come in and they're like, I can't do all of this. I can't fill out all these worksheets. I'm just not good at doing worksheets. And I always tell them that's fine. You don't have to fill out worksheets to quit porn. The purpose of the program is just to help you apply the things you're learning. And sometimes just reading the questions, going over them in your brain, writing them down if that's helpful to you, attending a coaching call. It's just all about application. And there are a ton of ways to apply it. You don't have to
yeah,
apply it like a student.
yeah. Let me back up a little bit too. One other thing just popped into my mind about what happened after I got on Brain Buddy. Their whole emphasis was counting the days. They had a life tree that would grow every day. It was nice at first and made a lot of sense at first. And I was strictly using willpower. And from the day my wife left till the day that I started your program, it was strictly willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, I forget, 120 days, I think it was, that I joined your program after I had started Brain Buddy. I didn't have many urges. I mean, before I was dealing with 5, 6, 7, 8 urges a day.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I joined your program, 3, 4 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I
And this
remember,
is after you had done Brain Buddy and like gone 120 days.
right.
Without being porn. Yeah. So I want to keep hearing your story, but I just think that's fascinating. I just want to point out what I think is happening there is just your brain is starting to be deconditioned from the porn. And so you're not having as many urges all the time because you haven't given it to yourself in 120 days.
Yeah.
It was really hopeful.
As they call it on Brain Buddy, on the no fat program, you're rewiring, you're rebooting your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what was going. So anyway, I got into your program. I remember getting on a coaching call with you, and I said, Sarah, I'm not having the urges. So how do I process the urges if I'm not having them? Do you remember what you said? You probably don't.
I don't. You'll have
She
to
said,
tell me.
what urges do you have during the day that's not porn related? And I said, drinking Dr. Pepper. And you said, practice your urges on not drinking Dr. Pepper. And it worked. I mean, the more I practiced, the more urges that I would feel about anything. And I would sit back and go, okay, let me think about this. What's the thought process? How come it's doing this?
Yeah.
I would do it on drinking Dr. Pepper. I'd do it on why I was lazy about going out mowing the lawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a game changer. It was a life changer.
Yeah. Isn't it though? Like really, when you learn how to do that, it's about so much more than pornography.
Yeah.
And it applies directly to pornography.
Yeah.
But this isn't a skill you only use for porn.
You can use it for anything.
Yeah. How else did it change your life? Maybe like with pornography, did it make it easier when you did have urges to view pornography, learning the skill of processing and not using willpower?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think about it. Anytime I have a thought that I want to go do something that I really don't want to, or I shouldn't do it, I'll process it and think about it. Why am I doing this? So yeah, it's just made a huge transformation, given me the skill set to reach out. That's another thing you probably wanted to touch on it, but the whole thing is just giving me getting off porn, a new skill set, looking at it differently, applying it to other things in life. It's opened up. I mean, a year ago, if I wanted to do life coaching, oh heck, no way. I was fearful. I didn't mention it at one point. I did find a therapist in Yuba City, California, that I was going to.
Yeah,
and he helped me out a lot. But he brought out some things that I was. Why I was buffering, using porn to buffer. And there was a lot of things that happened in my younger life. It wasn't anything big, but it was just a culmination of different things that took place that I was fearful of everything in life. I was fearful of making a decision. I remember when I was dating my wife and we got engaged, you know, what what date should we set? Far way off in the future was my reply.
Yeah.
I was so fearful of making a commitment, and that's the way I was in my life, and that's not the case now.
Yeah. How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
64.
Now you're 64 and you are making career changes.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there to help other people.
Oh yeah.
Being porn. It's a very scary thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's very terrifying. And you're saying that quitting porn and learning these skills, these life coaching skills, and being able to apply them here is what has catapulted you and allowed you to do that.
Oh yeah, by a long ways. I would never have had that positive energy to step out of my shell and look outside.
Yeah, that's something common that I hear with life coaches a lot. The people, they come in and they do the work in one area of their life, and it's so transformative and it gives them so much, like they feel so empowered and they learn how to, not make negative emotions such a big deal so that they can go and do what they want. And then they love it so much that they want to teach other people how to do it. It's a really
you truly have exposed that statue underneath. Mm-hmm. You helped me do that. I've been able to wash off that clay. And I've got a bright inside there, some that's still being exposed. I need to polish it up still.
Yeah, wow. So tell us about, tell me, so where are you at now with pornography? What's your life with pornography look like right now?
Clear mind, no fog. It was unbelievable how much brain fog you had when you were doing pornography. Just no guilt, no shame, just, it's late in life, but I did it. But I kind of regret. I wish there was something I could have done earlier. But just it's a bright looking future for me.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's something maybe we can work on, is the regret and just noticing what's there, noticing why you're feeling that, and like maybe being able to get to the point where you're exactly where you're supposed to be and everything happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. And maybe that's hard to see right now, but that's something to like think about going forward.
Yeah, for myself, I've accepted it, but the guilt that I have is how it affected other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which tell us about that. Have you experienced any changes in relationships or with other people since doing this work?
Big, huge relationship changes with my kids. I immediately went to them and said, "Hey, I've got issues that I need help with." They would call me daily. My oldest daughter became my, what do they call it? With Covenant Eyes, you have a partner that can view your computer. So she was able to see everything that I was doing on my phone or on my computer. The relationship changed big time there. Obviously, I damaged big time my relationship with my wife. Did things that I should never have done. Very, very hurtful. She was patient with me for years and years and years, and it finally reached a breaking point. And I'm one person that doesn't give up. And knowing what I knew about how porn worked, the science behind it, there was a reason that I was involved in it, and the buffering of it. It's still a work in progress, but she's working. Love her heart. She's working through it and helping me still live in separate houses right now, but we're working together.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So really big changes in how you feel and think about yourself. Quit pornography, no more struggle with pornography. Relationships with your family are starting to change and on the up and up, and working through those, and we'll see what happens there. But there's a lot of hope, a lot of beautiful hope. What would you tell someone who is maybe in a similar situation as you? So I got a message even just this last week from someone saying, I really love what I'm hearing from you, but I think I'm too old. I think I've been struggling with this for too long. What would you say to them? What insights do you have for them?
You don't give up. You know that it's bad, or you wouldn't be looking into the program. And I use the word bad not as a sin bad, but as a it's not good for you. The brain fog, the torture that it puts on your relationships with yourself and with others, it's not worth it. And now that I'm on the other side of it, it's hard to say, but I haven't felt this way since I started it when I was 12 years old. It's just a clean way of facing everyday's challenge.
Yeah. I love that, Quinn. Thank you. And you'd also had mentioned that you knew, so you started to understand how the brain was playing into it, and that you wanted to quit porn, but you're struggling figuring out exactly how to, which is something that I say often. I'm like, you guys hear all the time to quit porn and that you should quit porn. You don't need to be told to quit porn anymore. You need to be taught how.
Read your scripture some more.
Read your scripture. Yeah, you don't need to be told to read your scriptures some more. Yeah, as much as we love scriptures, that doesn't help you quit a porn habit.
No,
it doesn't help you quit. Help you lose weight or whatever.
No. Yeah, you've got to understand it, and you have a beautiful way of explaining it. And I loved your example in one of the first podcasts or second, I don't forget which one, of you've been trying to quit by reading the book on the refrigerator, or trying to fix your refrigerator with the book on the microwave. It just doesn't work. And and I don't blame anybody for. They gave me the best advice they knew how.
Of course.
But it's a whole new science now. I mean, porn's been around for a long time, but it's just now in the last 5-6 years that people are starting to realize that, hey, there's a problem. There's it's a bad habit. For some, it's a bad addiction, and it's not making anybody. It's sad that in a couple of chat rooms where I talk to guys, just these young guys that just don't know what to do and how to get out of it, but they know it's bad for them.
Yeah. What would you tell them if you were to tell these guys something? You're talking to these guys who know it's bad, know that they don't want it in their life. And right, when we say like, no, it's bad, not like know that it's a shameful thing. That's not what we're saying, but we know it's not something that they want to continue in their life, and it's not helping them live their best lives. Like, what would you tell them?
There's a way out, and knowledge is power. In fact, let me give you this quote real quick that I found. Knowledge is not power, it is only potential. Applying that knowledge is power. Understanding why and when to apply that knowledge. And, you need to find the knowledge, and you need to know how to put it together. Your program was, laid it out for me, and it made sense from day one. And for me, it was easy. Once I started in, there wasn't much of a, going back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think, and tell me if this resonates with you, but I think too, part of what made it so easy for you is that you had already done a lot of the limiting beliefs change. And so you really, truly believed that you could quit and that it wasn't going to be with you forever. You didn't get too involved in all the self-deprecating stuff. That's what makes it so difficult and so hard to quit, is when it's all or nothing, when we don't really believe we can, all those limiting beliefs that come up.
And I think the other thing that really helped me was, as soon as it made sense to me and that it helped me, I wanted to help others.
Yeah.
I wanted to become the teacher. So I'd get in these chat rooms and I would start giving them quotes from you and encourage them to join the podcasts. And that's why you got so many Brain Buddy letters at one time.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I've gotten a couple messages that just make me like smile and laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I remember the one you read. We're not members of the church. I think he said we're Catholic. And that group, they would hold a little mini mass every morning and listen to your podcast.
I love it. That's actually something that this next year is one of my goals. I'm expanding a little bit. Like, I was really narrowed in on LDS community this last year. And it was really good. Yeah. Helped me find people, but we got to expand, baby. Like, there are a lot of people who love these tools and they apply to everyone. It's not church specific,
and it's worldwide, and it's expanding more and more and more, and to be able to get the word out that there's a way to do it. and it's understanding. I mean, once everything clicks in,
Yeah.
it's easy.
There's a way to do it and it's not miserable, and it's a lot easier than what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
We just need to learn these new skills. That's all it is. Just some new skills we've got to figure out.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much, Quinn. Is there I want to make sure that if there's anything else that you wanted to mention, you have a moment to say if there's anything else.
I'm just reviewing my notes. It gives you, getting off porn gives you freedom to choose. I have choices now that before, if there was anything negative with it, buffer and to escape it, because I didn't want to make that decision. I was fearful of the way it might turn out. Yeah. So I would just buffer and put off with it. But this gives you so much freedom in your life to do what you want to do and how you want to do it without any regret.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. I love it. Yeah. Quitting porn is about so much more than quitting porn.
Yeah, it is.
So much more. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for coming and sharing your story. I know it's going to be really useful to a lot of people. And for those of you listening, if you want to come and learn more from Quinn, like I said, he's going to be doing a class for us on limiting beliefs, help us overcome those limiting beliefs in February. So you'll have a chance to join the program before then. Come and get in. He's also here, on most coaching calls with us. And we do that. All of this work that he's talked about, we do it in depth all the time. Every coaching call, you can always come and we're going to apply and we're going to learn how to do this. That's what we do in there. So thank you. Thank you again, Quinn, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I want to invite you to come and listen to my free training called How to Quit Viewing Pornography, even if you've tried in the past. If you like the podcast, you will love this free training. We talk about, number 1, how to not rely on willpower or phone filters so that you can actually stop wanting pornography. Number 2, how to guarantee that you won't fail no matter how many times you've tried in the past. And number 3, how to feel good about yourself while becoming someone who doesn't struggle with pornography. You can access this training at sarahbrewer.com/masterclass.